Oh, what's this? I knew the weasels would back down. Oh, ho, ho, ho.
John Belushi had seen enough of the entertainment industry to know how it worked. Talent didn't always win. Hard work didn't always get recognized. And sometimes the wrong person ended up with all the attention. He watched it happen in real time, up close, night after night, on one of the most watched shows in television. The person responsible wasn't some distant executive or faceless network suit. It was someone standing right there beside him on that stage. And by the time Belushi was done explaining why he despised him, most people found themselves completely on his side. The dream that hid everything. John Belushi's teenage years seemed almost too good to be true. He was the captain of the football team, homecoming king, the lead singer of a local band, and he was dating his high school sweetheart, Judith Jacqueline. It was an impressive list of accomplishments, especially for the son of Albanian immigrants who had built a life in America by working in pharmacies and running restaurants. Like his parents before him, Belushi dreamed of something bigger. After graduating from high school in Wheaton, Illinois, he set out to chase his own version of the American dream. But before taking that leap, he did something few people would have expected. Instead of making big promises to Judith about the future, he tried to convince her to leave him. Belushi wanted to be completely honest about the life he was choosing. He knew acting was an uncertain career, and he believed there was a good chance he would never make enough money to support a family. He even warned Judith that if she stayed with him, she might end up being the one paying the bills. Belushi may have doubted himself, but Judith never did. She refused to walk away. She believed in him, even when he struggled to believe in himself. Neither of them could have imagined where that journey would eventually lead. Belushi started with very little, but he had a remarkable ability to work his way up. He dropped out of college, moved to Chicago, and co-founded the West Compass Trio. The group's success opened the door to Chicago's legendary Second City Comedy Club, where Belushi quickly proved he belonged. That opportunity eventually led him to National Lampoon, where he performed in both stage productions and radio shows in New York. It was also at Second City that another life-changing chapter began. That was where Belushi met Dan Aykroyd. The two comedians connected almost immediately. They shared the same fearless style of comedy, pushed each other creatively, and formed a partnership that would become one of the most legendary duos in entertainment history. Even after leaving Second City, their careers remained closely tied together. Together, they would reach incredible heights, but their story would also end in heartbreaking tragedy. Then came 1975, as producer Lorne Michaels assembled the cast for a brand new late-night sketch show. Chevy Chase and writer Michael O'Donoghue strongly recommended John Belushi for the job. At first, Michaels wasn't completely convinced. Belushi's comedy relied heavily on loud, energetic physical performances, and Michaels wasn't sure it would translate to television. But the moment he saw Belushi perform, every doubt disappeared. Michaels offered him a place in the original cast of Saturday Night Live. Belushi hesitated at first, unsure whether joining the new show was the right move. Eventually, he accepted, and that single decision changed both his life and the future of television comedy. Reuniting with Dan Aykroyd on Saturday Night Live felt natural. Their chemistry was instant, and audiences loved every minute of it. His relationship with Chevy Chase, however, was a completely different story. As Chase quickly became the show's first breakout star, tension began building behind the scenes. Belushi watched as his co-star received most of the attention, praise, and publicity. From Belushi's point of view, Chase had everything he wanted but hadn't yet achieved himself. Instead of giving up, Belushi pushed himself even harder. It didn't take long for him to become just as popular. Week after week, he created unforgettable characters that audiences couldn't get enough of, from his over-the-top Henry Kissinger impression to his unforgettable samurai sketches. Then he and Dan Aykroyd came up with a simple musical act to entertain the audience before the live broadcast. That act became the Blues Brothers. What started as a fun warm-up quickly took on a life of its own. The Blues Brothers became recurring stars on Saturday Night Live, then grew into a real band that performed live and eventually became a cultural phenomenon all on its own. From the outside, Belushi looked like a man living the dream. Behind the scenes, though, a very different story was unfolding. According to his wife, Judith, the struggles that haunted Belushi didn't suddenly appear after fame arrived. They had always been there. In the early days of Saturday Night Live, some cast members saw him as an easy target. He was a kid from the Midwest, the son of Albanian immigrants, overweight, and a college dropout trying to find his place among bigger personalities. Those experiences left deep scars. Even after becoming one of television's biggest stars, Belushi never fully escaped those insecurities. Instead, he tried to outrun them through constant partying, a lifestyle that only grew more dangerous as his fame increased. By the show's second season, heavy drinking and drug use had become a regular part of his life. Then, in 1977, everything became even more complicated. After suffering a serious knee injury, Belushi was prescribed powerful painkillers. At the time, doctors routinely handed out these medications without fully understanding how addictive they could be. What started as treatment for an injury slowly became another battle he couldn't control. Today, stories of addiction to prescription opioids are sadly familiar. But decades before the crisis became national news, John Belushi was already living through it. He was only 28 years old, and the medication prescribed to help him recover would become one of the many demons that followed him for the rest of his life, the beginning of the end. By the late 1970s, John Belushi's addiction was becoming impossible to ignore. And the people noticing it weren't outsiders. They were the cast and crew of Saturday Night Live, a group already famous for living hard and partying even harder. If they thought someone had gone too far, things were truly getting out of hand. Before long, one question echoed through the halls of the studio more than any other. Where's John? Belushi was regularly showing up late for rehearsals, and sometimes he didn't show up at all. His unpredictable behavior frustrated everyone around him. Some cast members even accused him of helping himself to their personal drug supplies without asking, creating even more tension behind the scenes. Then things reached an entirely new level. According to head writer Michael O'Donoghue, Belushi once used cocaine during a live sketch while the cameras were rolling. It happened so openly that the audience almost caught it on camera. For many around him, it was another sign that his addiction was no longer something he could hide. Lorne Michaels had been patient for as long as he could. He understood Belushi's talent and often looked the other way, hoping things would improve. But eventually, enough was enough. Michaels began firing Belushi whenever his behavior became too disruptive, only to hire him back again because the show simply wasn't the same without him. That cycle repeated itself over and over. Belushi and Saturday Night Live had developed a strange relationship. They couldn't seem to function together, but neither could they stay apart. His creative brilliance made him indispensable, while his addiction made him almost impossible to manage. Eventually, after 4 seasons, Belushi made the decision himself. He walked away. To many people, the move made little sense. Saturday Night Live had made him one of the biggest comedy stars in America, and his career was only gaining momentum. Even his younger brother Jim Belushi questioned why he would leave. For John, though, it was time. He compared it to finishing senior year of high school. In his mind, he had learned everything he could there, and it was time to move on to the next chapter. There was one surprise almost no one saw coming. The producers knew Belushi was leaving. What they didn't know was that Dan Aykroyd was leaving too. Some believed Belushi convinced his closest friend to walk away. But the decision wasn't just about loyalty. The demanding schedule at Saturday Night Live left very little room for movies or other creative projects. By leaving, both men gained complete control over their careers. For the first time, they were free to do whatever they wanted. Ironically, that freedom came with a price. Many fans consider the next few years the greatest stretch of Belushi's career. Animal House became one of the biggest comedy hits ever made, earning huge profits while receiving praise from critics and audiences alike. Then came The Blues Brothers, where Belushi reunited with Dan Aykroyd. What started as a recurring Saturday Night Live sketch grew into a successful movie, a chart-topping album, and one of the most beloved comedy franchises of its era. Professionally, Belushi couldn't have been doing better. Personally, he was falling apart. The production of The Blues Brothers became infamous for its drug culture. Cocaine was everywhere. According to those involved, it was treated almost as casually as coffee during overnight shoots. Dan Aykroyd later admitted that many people on set used it. The difference was that most of them could walk away. Belushi couldn't. His addiction became so severe that he would regularly disappear in the middle of filming. One day, Dan Aykroyd couldn't find him anywhere. After searching the set without success, he started knocking on doors in a nearby neighborhood. Eventually, someone answered. The homeowner casually explained that Belushi had wandered inside, helped himself to food from the refrigerator, and fallen asleep on the couch. Stories like that became increasingly common. Director John Landis eventually reached his breaking point. One day, he walked into Belushi's trailer and discovered a massive amount of cocaine inside. Furious and terrified, Landis confronted his star. He pleaded with Belushi to stop before he destroyed himself, the film, and everyone who cared about him. Then he dumped the drugs into the toilet and flushed them away. Belushi exploded with anger. The two men wrestled across the trailer before the fight suddenly collapsed into tears. Both of them broke down emotionally, and Belushi admitted he knew he had lost control. Unfortunately, recognizing the problem didn't mean he could overcome it. His producers knew that simply leaving him alone wasn't an option anymore. Whenever Belushi visited bars or clubs, strangers constantly offered him drugs simply because they wanted to party with a celebrity. So they hired Smokey Wendell, a former Secret Service agent. Wendell had protected presidents and famous musicians, yet nothing prepared him for trying to keep John Belushi safe. Watching Belushi became a full-time job. Every hour of every day brought another crisis, another disappearance, or another dangerous situation. After roughly a year, Wendell finally gave up, physically and emotionally exhausted by the experience. Looking back, it's remarkable that the Blues Brothers was ever completed. Not every project enjoyed that same success. Steven Spielberg's 1941 seemed like a guaranteed hit on paper. It featured one of Hollywood's biggest directors and an impressive cast that included Belushi. Instead, it disappointed both critics and audiences and remains one of Spielberg's least successful films. Belushi, however, found humor even in failure. He reportedly wore a shirt joking about the movie's flop, poking fun at Spielberg's reputation. For a brief period, though, life finally seemed to settle down. While filming Continental Divide and later Neighbors, Belushi managed to stay sober. He spent quiet days with Judith at their home on Martha's Vineyard, and for a moment, it looked as though he might finally be turning his life around. Sadly, that peace didn't last. During the production of Neighbors, he relapsed. This time, the relapse was devastating. Separated from Judith and staying at the Chateau Marmont in Hollywood, Belushi slipped back into the same destructive lifestyle he had fought so hard to escape. Without realizing it, he had entered the final chapter of his life. The week everything collapsed. Between February 27th and March 4th, 1982, Belushi spent nearly every day partying across Los Angeles. His bungalow at the Chateau Marmont became the center of late-night gatherings, while Judith, back in New York, heard very little from him. Despite everything, Belushi remained optimistic. He talked excitedly about reinventing his career and looked forward to several upcoming projects. He genuinely believed his best work was still ahead of him. On March 4th, desperation took over. Belushi visited his manager, Bernie Brillstein, asking for $1,500. He claimed he wanted to buy a new guitar. Brillstein didn't believe him. He suspected the money was really meant for drugs and refused to hand it over. Later that same day, Belushi returned. This time, Brillstein was in the middle of a meeting. Not wanting to embarrass his client in front of others, he reluctantly gave Belushi the money, hoping his instincts were wrong. Years later, that decision would haunt him. Later that afternoon, Belushi contacted Kathy Smith and invited her to the bungalow. Smith wasn't just supplying him with drugs. Because Belushi was afraid of needles, she was also injecting them for him. As the night went on, several famous friends stopped by. Robert De Niro and Harry Dean Stanton visited first. Instead of finding Belushi ready for a night out, they walked into a bungalow in complete disarray. Belushi and Smith were heavily intoxicated, and the atmosphere made both men uncomfortable enough to leave. Not long afterward, Robin Williams also stopped by. He stayed only briefly before deciding to leave as well. None of them realized they had just seen John Belushi for the last time. The binge continued through the night. Even after Belushi complained that he felt sick and congested, the drug use didn't stop. Eventually, he passed out. The following morning, Kathy Smith checked on him before leaving the bungalow. It was the last time anyone saw him alive. Later that day, Belushi's trainer and occasional bodyguard, Bill Wallace, arrived to deliver a few items Belushi had requested. Instead, he found his friend dead. The official cause of death was an overdose caused by multiple drugs in his system. John Belushi was only 33 years old. His death gave heartbreaking new meaning to one of Saturday Night Live's earliest sketches, Don't Look Back. In it, Belushi played an elderly version of himself, visiting the graves of his fellow cast members as the last surviving member of the original group. What had once been a comedy suddenly became painfully tragic. In the aftermath, attention quickly turned to Kathy Smith. For a time, she might have escaped legal consequences. Instead, she spoke openly to reporters, admitting that she had supplied the drugs and injected Belushi that night. She dismissed it as just another part of Hollywood's party culture. Those public statements ultimately became her downfall. Authorities extradited Smith from Canada and charged her with second-degree murder. After years of legal proceedings, she reached a plea agreement in 1986, pleading guilty to involuntary manslaughter and multiple counts of administering controlled substances. She served 15 months in prison, the battle over his legacy. John Belushi's fame didn't fade after his death. If anything, it grew even bigger. Millions of people who had never seen him perform live, and his fan base continued to expand. But that growing popularity came with an unexpected and heartbreaking consequence. His grave became a tourist destination. Belushi's headstone carried the message that rock and roll lives on, and many fans took those words a little too seriously. Crowds regularly gathered at his gravesite, leaving behind noise, damage, and disruption that made it difficult for his family to mourn in peace. Then things became even more disturbing. Although everyone knew addiction had claimed Belushi's life, visitors began leaving empty liquor bottles and drug paraphernalia at his grave, believing it was some kind of tribute. Instead of honoring him, they were celebrating the very thing that had destroyed him. Eventually, Judith Belushi made an incredibly painful decision. To protect her husband's memory and give him the peace he never found in life, she had his remains quietly moved to a secret location known only to the family. Even that couldn't stop the controversy. In the years after Belushi's death, rumors about his life spread everywhere. Hoping to set the record straight, Judith and Belushi's longtime manager, Bernie Brillstein, approached journalist Bob Woodward about writing a book. Woodward was already one of America's most respected reporters, famous for helping uncover the Watergate scandal. Belushi's family and friends believed he would tell an honest and balanced story. Instead, they felt betrayed. When Wired was published in 1984, many of the people closest to Belushi barely recognized the man described in its pages. They believed the book focused almost entirely on his addiction, while overlooking the warmth, generosity, and extraordinary talent that had made him such a beloved performer. Rather than protecting his legacy, they felt the book had damaged it. No one took that harder than Judith and Dan Aykroyd. When Wired was adapted into a movie a few years later, Aykroyd made no secret of how much he hated the project. He openly wished for the film to fail, believing it misrepresented his closest friend. It did. The movie performed poorly with both critics and audiences. Judith decided she couldn't let Woodward's version of John's story stand on its own. In 1990, she published Samurai Widow, sharing her own memories of their life together and presenting a much more personal picture of the man she loved. Dan Aykroyd, meanwhile, never let go of his anger. While filming Loose Cannons in 1990, he learned that actor J.T. Walsh had appeared in Wired. Although production had already begun, Aykroyd pushed to have Walsh removed from the film. The decision reportedly delayed production and cost the studio thousands of dollars, but Aykroyd believed defending Belushi's memory was worth every penny. As the years passed, another comedian began following a path that looked strangely familiar. Chris Farley adored John Belushi. Like Belushi, he trained at Chicago's Second City before joining Saturday Night Live. He built his career around fearless physical comedy and even wore some of Belushi's old costumes. Farley openly admitted that Belushi was his hero and that he wanted to follow in his footsteps. At first, it seemed like a touching tribute. Then it became something much darker. As Farley's own addiction grew worse, people around him became deeply concerned. Jim Belushi pleaded with him to stop trying to become another John Belushi. Having battled addiction himself, Jim understood exactly where that road could lead. Others tried to help as well. Adam Sandler warned Farley that he was heading toward the same tragic ending. Farley brushed the warning aside. In 1997, fears of everyone around him became reality. Chris Farley died from a drug overdose at just 33 years old, the same age John Belushi had been when he died. The similarities were impossible to ignore. Over the years, another strange story added to Belushi's legend. Several actors who expressed interest in starring in a film adaptation of the satirical novel The Incomparable Atuk died before the project could be completed. John Belushi, Chris Farley, John Candy, Sam Kinison, Phil Hartman, and Michael O'Donoghue have all been linked to what many fans call the Atuk curse. Whether it was nothing more than coincidence or simply another example of how dangerous life and entertainment can be remains a matter of debate. Belushi's legacy has also become more complicated with time. Jane Curtin later claimed that Belushi often believed women weren't as funny as men and resisted performing in sketches written by female writers or centered around female comedians. Her comments sparked renewed discussion about his behavior behind the scenes. Judith Belushi offered a more nuanced view. She acknowledged that her husband wasn't perfect and admitted he carried attitudes that reflected the era he grew up in. At the same time, she believed he recognized those flaws and genuinely tried to overcome them. More than anything, she wanted people to remember Belushi as a complete human being, someone who was caring, adventurous, generous, and capable of making people feel just as deeply as he made them laugh. His story also changed Saturday Night Live forever. During the show's early years, drug use was common. Long hours, relentless deadlines, and constant pressure pushed many cast members toward unhealthy coping mechanisms. At first, Lorne Michaels took a relatively hands-off approach. Belushi's death changed that. Although many future cast members, including Pete Davidson and John Mulaney, would face their own struggles with addiction, Michaels never forgot losing one of the show's original stars. During Mulaney's intervention, Michaels reflected on Belushi's death, explaining that the pain never truly disappeared. Decades later, he still spoke about Belushi because tragedies like that leave lasting scars on everyone involved. Even with all the controversy surrounding his life, Belushi's talent has never been questioned. In 2015, Rolling Stone ranked every Saturday Night Live cast member in the show's history. Out of more than 140 performers, John Belushi finished at number 1. The magazine argued that no one captured the spirit of live television quite like he did. His fearless performances, explosive energy, and willingness to throw himself completely into every sketch helped define what Saturday Night Live could be. That legacy was impossible to ignore during the show's 50th anniversary celebration. After half a century, hundreds of unforgettable performers had walked across the Studio 8H stage. Choosing which moments to revisit was no easy task, yet Belushi remained one of the centerpieces of the celebration. More than 4 decades after his death, he was still impossible to leave out. John Belushi. Utterly hated him. When you hear why, you won't be surprised. Success in the entertainment industry has a way of changing people. Whether it's a rock star performing in front of a packed stadium or a comedian making millions laugh every Saturday night, constant praise can slowly chip away at humility. When the applause never stops, it's easy to start believing the hype. For Chevy Chase, that seemed to be exactly what happened. Within just a year of joining Saturday Night Live, Chase had become the show's biggest star. Week after week, audiences tuned in to watch him deliver the sharp, sarcastic headlines on Weekend Update. Before long, many viewers saw him as the face of the entire show. But while fans loved what they saw on television, the atmosphere behind the scenes told a very different story. According to The Telegraph, Chase had built a reputation for being arrogant and unnecessarily cruel to the people around him. His quick wit wasn't just used for comedy, it was often aimed directly at his fellow cast members. Former co-star Lorraine Newman later said that Chase teased people like a mean older brother, always knowing exactly what to say to hurt someone's feelings the most. One of his favorite targets was John Belushi. Belushi came from a working-class background, a world away from Chase's more privileged upbringing. He was also heavier than many of the other cast members, something Chase constantly mocked. As Belushi's biography and Grantland both recount, Chase would make jokes about having to shave Belushi's back or teach him how to use silverware before he could fit into polite society. To Chase, they were jokes. To everyone else, they were simply insults. It didn't take long for the rest of the cast to grow tired of his attitude. Chase's ego seemed to grow just as quickly as his fame, and very few people behind the scenes actually enjoyed working with him. For John Belushi, those constant insults slowly became something much deeper than annoyance. At first, Chase's behavior was frustrating. But as Chase's fame exploded, while Belushi remained in his shadow, that frustration turned into genuine resentment. Belushi was already a respected comedian, yet much of the spotlight kept landing on Chase. From Belushi's perspective, the recognition simply wasn't being shared fairly. Then Chase left Saturday Night Live during the show's second season to chase bigger opportunities. Even after leaving, he occasionally returned as a guest host. According to The Telegraph, Chase openly claimed the show wasn't as good without him, a comment that only reinforced the image many people already had of his oversized ego. Belushi saw things very differently. According to Grantland, he truly believed he was the stronger performer. Long before television made Chase a household name, Belushi had already built an impressive comedy resume. He had starred in National Lampoon's Lemmings stage production, served as creative director of the Lampoon Radio Hour, and earned respect throughout the comedy world. Yet after making the jump to television, Belushi felt like he was being handed scraps while Chase was being turned into comedy's newest superstar. In his eyes, he had done the hard work, proven his talent, and earned his place. But somehow, Chase was the one receiving the praise, the publicity, and the attention. It wasn't just professional jealousy anymore. By that point, Belushi had come to genuinely dislike Chevy Chase, believing the wrong man had become the biggest star of Saturday Night Live.